Okay, now that you have your value scales and your gradation scales in charcoal, now we're going to practice working on a sphere also in charcoal. This time it's going to be a little different than you did with graphite. So what you're going to do is you're going to make a square on your page. You can use the same page or a new page. Remember how she showed you to kind of ghost that like this? Well, I always do that. And you see how I kind of put my finger out and I work it on the side of my hand here so my whole arm is moving. So I'm going to make a nice circle inside of my square. Now, the difference between graphite and charcoal is up until now we've been working with lines, but right now we want to get rid of our lines. So we want to see only gradation. We don't want to see the scale like this. We want to see the gradation, all right? So I'm going to choose the light source over here. So here's my little light bulb hanging here. So my light source is coming from here. So that means my dark is going to be over here, okay? It's always heaviest on the bottom because we want that sphere to feel heavy. So it's heavy here on the bottom, and then it's darker over here because here's our light source and here's our dark, okay? And I'm going to, where did my willow go? Well, hang on, I gotta go find that piece of willow. I don't know where it went. I'll be right back. So, sorry. So I'm gonna start here with my willow. I kind of started with my charcoal just so you could see a little bit better. But I'm gonna start here with that willow. Okay? And I'm gonna go round and round just like she showed you with, and pretty soon that willow is gonna not be working very, very hard for me. All right, so I'm gonna kind of blend that willow in just a little bit up towards that light source. And you see I'm using my finger to do that. All right, so now let's go back to our charcoal. And I don't want to use a lot of it right now. I want to see, I don't know, 3 or 4 values to begin with because I'm going to have to come back and work into this. Okay? Remember, we want it as dark as we can to begin with. All right? Maybe a little more. And a little more. All right, so now I'm going to start with my finger and I'm going to circle, circle, circle. Okay? Circle, circle, circle. Bringing it up towards that light source and that white part of my sphere. Okay? Now, I pulled some of that charcoal from the bottom, and how many values does it look like I have? I'd say 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 5 or 6. So what I want to do is I want to come back down here where it's the darkest and the heaviest, and I want to add a little bit more. So don't be satisfied. Make sure that you work hard to get this really nice and full of value. Okay? Now, sometimes what that means is I need to come up here and pull some of this out like that so I can, so my eraser becomes my good friend in this case. So you see how that's looking a little bit better now? All right, well, I have a couple of problems with this, all right? So the first thing I want to do is I want to put the sphere sitting on a table, okay? And we know he's going to need that um, bit of a shadow underneath here. So I can kind of put that little shadow there a little bit. But then I still have a problem. So what we want to do with this is the first thing we want to do is we want to use 5 to 7 values. The next thing we want to do is we want to get rid of lines. Now, up until now, what have we worked with? Lines. But now I have to get rid of lines. I don't want to see the line from the table, and I certainly don't want to see this line, even though when we did this with graphite, we left that line in. Now we don't, okay? So how do you reckon I'm going to get rid of those lines? I can't erase, because if I erase, it's just going to go away, right? So what we're working on right now is value. So what I want to do is I want to put value to get rid of my lines. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use this piece of willow and I'm going to put some value behind my sphere. Okay, now it can be light value, it can be dark value, whatever you want it to be. But I'm going to use my charcoal pencil and I'm going to put a little bit of value behind that sphere. Like this. And then I'm going to blend it in with my finger so it's nice and smooth and clean. See that? It kind of goes out of the lines a little bit, but I'm okay with that. And I'm going to come back to it where it's kind of foggy and unclear here, but it's clearer right up here. I'm going to add some more value to that, or I could possibly take some away, whatever works, okay? So possibly here, I want to take a little bit more away from where that light is, and I can kind of add that back. And maybe here, I can take a little more away. Okay, just so there's that gradation, just so I see that gradation. Maybe I'll put a little bit of value even behind it. But you see how I'm only working with this little sphere, and I'm still trying to perfect what I'm doing here, all right? Now, unlike with that pencil, what happens is I get these foggy lines, and I want my edges, because I don't have lines anymore, right? We talked about this. I don't want lines. I just want edges. So what I want to do is I want to use that eraser and I want to clean up those edges where it's the lightest. So I'm going to roll into it like this, and there we go. Okay, roll into it. Then I'm going to come and clean up down here. I can clean up my edges too if I want. And even down here, around here, because I don't want to see that fogginess. We see with that fog right there, or that blurriness. We want to get rid of that. And that happens because we're using our fingers to blend. Okay? So you see, by just doing a little tiny bit of work like that, what a big difference that makes on my sphere. So let's see how many values we have. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, about 7, okay? And that's my goal. That's what I'm looking for, 7 values. Everything from black to white. And then my nice shadow underneath. And one side I'm going to leave a little bit blurry, and the other side I'm going to clean up. So now I've gotten rid of all my lines. I only have value on my on my sphere. Okay? And everything is nice and clean. This is what you're going to be graded on. So we're getting rid of, we have 5 to 7 values. We want to get rid of our lines. We want no foggy edges. That was what we did. So we use our eraser to do that. And then we want everything to be, see how nice and smooth and velvety it is? I don't want to see lines in it, okay? I don't want to see that. I want you to make sure it's nice and smooth and clean, all right? And if it's not, you're going to come in with, so smooth and velvety. All right, so those are the 4 things I'm going to be looking at when I grade yours. All right? Okay. Have fun. I want to see, at least 3 of these. All right?